Hi, I'm Neil Thomas. This is a real estate short take on buyer's consultation. What is it and why would you want one? You know, at some point during your home search, you're going to feel the need for a little more professional help. It usually comes at the time when you know you need to bring some focus to this project. You've been shopping online, and at some point you say, how do I make sense of all this information? What am I missing? And that's when having someone in your corner with real estate expertise comes into play. That's usually the point where you and I will meet. And when we meet, it's usually best to sit down and let us hear more about what you're trying to accomplish, and let us share a lot of information that will help make your journey a whole lot easier, less stressful, and come to a better result. The agenda for this meeting is on my website. We'll give you the web address at the end of this short take, and I would encourage you to go there. At the top of the page, one of the links is called Buyers and Sellers, and right under that is a little link called Buyer's Consultation Agenda. Click on that link and you'll go right to the topics that we're going to cover here, but only very briefly. We want to talk about representation to begin with in a buyer's consultation. Now, the state of Alaska has a disclosure. You've probably seen it if you've met any real estate professionals that have showed you property. We certainly do this at our first opportunity, and that real estate form will go over in some detail. But basically what we're saying to you is that we represent you as the buyer, and we're not representing the seller in most cases. There's a limited situation that can come up if you develop interest in a property where we're already representing the seller, and in that case we play a neutral role. All of that can be talked out and is disclosed on that form. One thing to realize, by the way, and this is just a subtopic of this, is that when we represent you, you and I don't have to care who represents the seller, or even if nobody does. The so-called for sale by owner is simply a seller who has chosen not to have a real estate professional representing him or her. That doesn't change the nature of our relationship. We're still in your corner to represent you in any transaction that would develop, regardless of who represents the owner. We'll be talking about financing. Where do you go for your loan? How do you make that choice? The cost of the money is sometimes more important and bigger dollars over time than the cost of the house, and so it's an important decision. I will share with you what I call my biases and prejudices. What do I think, as a general rule, is a good choice in a property, and what sort of things should you avoid? We'll talk about disclosures. Sellers are legally required to disclose information that they know about a property. There's substantial penalties for not doing so, which gives sellers an incentive to say what they know. State law does allow a buyer and a seller to waive the seller's obligation to fill out the form. It's rarely a good idea to do that, and we'll guide you in that regard. We'll go over the purchase and sale agreement. It's nice to kind of know what to expect and not just suddenly have a bunch of papers with legal consequences shoved under your nose in the excitement of having found a home, and not really sort of know what those obligations are and how it works. Do it ahead of time and you'll find the whole process a whole lot less stressful. We'll talk about negotiation. How do we represent you in the effort to secure for you the best financial and business terms of any agreement that you might sign? We'll talk about home inspections. How do you choose an inspection? What should an inspection cover? And what sort of costs are involved in all of that? Inspections often reveal the need for repairs. We'll talk about how do we represent you in negotiating with the seller for items to be fixed as part of the agreement, and what are your safe out clauses if necessary, because a transaction turns out to be not suitable for your needs based on your more detailed inspections. And finally, we'll walk you through the closing process so that when you do get to that finish line, you sort of know what to expect. More details of this are on the website, but I hope this much was helpful in just orienting you toward what we cover in a buyer's consultation. I'm Neil Thomas with Coldwell Banker Best Properties, and this has been a Real Estate Short Take.